so it doesn't surprise me that you didn't have somebody who was, concealed carry that was able to, take this loser out. But that part of it doesn't surprise me. I guess also the idea that, I mean, you know what it's like, right? When faced with something like that, the vast majority of people will freeze or run.
All right, shifting a little bit more locally and pretty recent here. Flamethrower attack at a pro-Israel vigil in Colorado is being investigated as a hate crime. Mohamed Sabry Soliman, 45, has been charged with attempted first-degree murder and federal hate crimes after allegedly attacking, which I don't know why people say allegedly. There is video of this. So whatever, I'm going to read it as it says. Allegedly attacking a pro-Israeli hostage vigil in Boulder, Colorado, with a makeshift flamethrower. At least 12 people, many elderly, were injured. Witnesses say Soliman shouted "Free Palestine" before setting people on fire. Soliman is an Egyptian national. He entered the U.S. on a tourist visa in 2022 and later applied for asylum. His visa expired in early 2023. Authorities are investigating the incident as a hate crime and potential act of terrorism. Soliman remains in custody on $10 million bail. Question being, does this attack, in your opinion, signal a shift in the nature of domestic terrorism, where lone actors are driven by international conflicts and are increasingly targeting peaceful demonstrations here at home? And do you think we are prepared for that, if that's the case?
I don't think it's some sort of sea change. I don't view what Soliman did as any different than, any other attack by a psycho who, has disappeared down a rabbit hole or has issues and imagines, that he's got to right the wrong. So I don't think there's a new lesson here. I think the understanding is that it's just extremely difficult to catch an individual like Soliman. Look, he didn't have a criminal record. He had applied for asylum. He was here under, however you want to refer to it, proper circumstances. He had gone through the process.
Yeah.
But he'd spent, according to his own testimony, he'd spent a year plotting this out and, wanted to wait until his daughter graduated. What a family man, before he went out and set a bunch of Jews on fire. So, allegedly, I'm sorry. Allegedly.
Yeah, because the video is real unclear about what happened.
Yeah. As he stands there holding his Molotov cocktail. So I think it's not, it's not a new problem that we're facing, and it's just a reminder of how difficult it is to prevent something like this on a regular basis.
I agree. You know what concerns me more about this, and maybe I view the world, well, I definitely view the world through a slightly different lens, just given my background, and I bet you do too, whether you want to or not. It's just the experiences shape the way you view it. I don't understand, why there wasn't a gun-carrying citizen anywhere near there, or why multiple people didn't band together and do something about this. Like, what is it going to take for people to realize that at some point in time, you might have to be able to handle your own shit? I mean, call 911 by all means, but we're just going to let a guy light 12 people on fire. Nobody's going to do anything about that.
Well, I'm sure you've been to Denver, and it's
I've been to the airport many times. I don't leave it often, but I travel through.
Yeah. Like Denver is an interesting place, right? You imagine Colorado. I always imagine Colorado. I used to lump it in the same category as Idaho, Montana, Wyoming. Just a lot of good, sensible people. Pull their boots out, get on with things. Denver's been overrun. Denver's kind of like Portland, kind of like Seattle, and so it doesn't surprise me that you didn't have somebody who was, concealed carry that was able to, take this loser out. But that part of it doesn't surprise me. I guess also the idea that, I mean, you know what it's like, right? When faced with something like that, the vast majority of people will freeze or run, right?
Or apparently get lit on fire.
They'll apparently get lit on fire. Yeah, because they just look. I mean, a lot of those protesters were elderly, right? They were elderly people, so they didn't have a chance, right? In that, but the folks around it, or they just, you know what happens? Everybody locks up, and
Yeah.
you know, it's deer in the headlights time, and so because most people walk around in a bubble, everybody's sort of in this comfort zone. Nobody's on, you know, not even red alert, but you know, yellow, and anticipating a potential problem. So and you don't want people to walk around thinking everywhere they go, okay, well, where's the exits? What do I do if this happens? What do I, you know, how do I react if it? Fine. No one's going to do that really for the most part, you know, unless they're first responders. But I agree with it. It is kind of, it's surprising when faced with that you didn't get a handful of people banding together and saying, let's take this moron out. But then again,
you got a handful of people who pulled their cell phones out.
God, that's the more interesting study in human behavior nowadays, right? Is that tendency to want to film something rather than deal with it.
When you were talking about people walking around on red alert, it reminded me of how awesome the daily color coordinated threats were shortly after 9/11. And how amazing that helped people live their lives.
Yeah. Wow.
For anybody who didn't experience that, I'm sorry. I wish we could go back and today is a yellow alert day. But like where? Where is it a yellow alert day?
No. Oh my God. No, you know what? And it is. You're right. Actually, that's really interesting because it is ancient history, right? For a lot of people. Going back and yet for, you know, for a bunch of us, 9/11 is like yesterday, right?
Yeah.
And we remember what it was like in the aftermath. Remember the anthrax scares in D.C.? I mean, everybody was convinced there was going to be this series of events. It wasn't just going to be 9/11's attacks. And so you're right that they came up with the color-coded warnings. And, okay.
And I think they eventually got rid of them because people were so amped out of their fucking mind all the time. Like they were always at a 10. So 10 became the new 0, and it's like red alert. People are like, whatever, dude. It was orange yesterday and nothing happened, so I don't even care anymore.
Yeah. You know, people get desensitized, right? I mean, that is very true.
You want to talk about a method to literally panic people? Let's use a color-coded chart and just move this needle around to just scare the living shit out of people.
Yeah. Oh God. I mean, look, my oldest child, my daughter is you know, was how old was she? She was just a wee little thing when 9/11 hit, and but she kind of grew up during the global war on terror.
Yeah.
And so she's got a different frame of reference to it than, you know, somebody who's 10 years younger than her who looks at it like, you know, we might look at the whatever Vietnam War, you know, and so it is interesting. It all moves along, and you know, I guess it's like those, not to disappear down a rabbit hole, but I'm always fascinated when the conversation comes up like, oh, people don't remember Pearl Harbor anymore, people don't remember D-Day anymore, and I'm thinking, look, that's the way it works, right? You know, we don't remember the French Revolution. I mean, come on. And so it's sad when you realize that, you know, we've lost the kind of the touchstone to those incredibly important events, but it's also just the way it works.
From day one, Change Agents has been about one thing: telling the stories of people who risk everything to make a difference.
I was trying to get him to confess to murdering those veterans at the VA hospital.
I guess you got to go all the way up the food chain.
This season, we're raising the stakes. We're going to sit down with men and women who aren't just helping communities, they're stepping into the most dangerous hidden corners of the world. These are the voices most people never hear, operating behind the headline, under fire, and in the dark. I'm Andy Stumpf, and this is Change Agents, an Ironclad original. New episodes are going to drop every Wednesday. You can watch and listen on YouTube at This Is Ironclad and everywhere else that you get your podcasts.